What's up, strategists? Welcome to the Bitcoin Strategy. Today, I want to talk about how you don't own your money, how bank runs happen, how the European Union is screwing you if you live in that part of the world, and what you can do to protect your savings. Before that, I'd like to let you know that this video expands on one of my previous videos, how our financial system is rigged against you and what you can do about it. To summarize that video for the uninitiated, I explain how central banks around the world bake in a shadow tax into their money by printing up a bunch and giving it to themselves. This money, this printed money, then causes inflation to the tune of around 8% a year per the US dollar, but this rate is usually much higher in smaller and more hyperinflated currencies. Now back to this video. Fractional reserve banking, the main topic of this video. Have you ever wondered how banks make their money? After all, nothing in this world is free. Take Google for example. How in the world does a company that offers their services at no cost to the end consumer attain a multi-trillion-dollar valuation? Google doesn't print money, but they do use various data mining techniques to gather and sort through tons of your data just to serve you personalized ads and sell it to their corporate buddies. Same thing applies with banking. Whenever you make or receive a deposit in your bank account, you're thereby transferring ownership of your money to the bank. With that ownership, the bank will then take a fraction of the money and use it to finance assets like car loans, mortgages, stocks, treasury and corporate bonds, commodity, and more, whatever makes them money. Then they, of course, pocket the difference. To illustrate this, I can show you in a drawing here. This may look like a lot, but I'll walk you through it. So this is a bank, imaginary bank, X bank. So this is you with your money. Say you deposited $100. Now, as you can see here, 90% of it goes to the bank's investments. This is not your investments, this is the bank's. And 10% goes to what is called a reserve. So if you ever wanted to withdraw money from the bank, this is where you would withdraw from the reserve, the 10%. Now, of course, other people are going to deposit into this. So just say that you were out of the picture. Say your friend used the same bank. They deposited $1,000. Let's say that the bank uses 90% of it, so $900 for their private investments, and they use 10% of it and put it in reserve, so $100. So back to what you put in. So as you can see, this is your $100 goes up here, turns into $90 to investments. Now, this 90% investment, 10% reserve thing, the US government requires that all banks hold at least 10% on hand in case depositors want to withdraw their money. Now, most banks will do this. They'll take 90% of your money, put it in investments. So as you can see here, they can put it into mortgages. They can offer mortgages to their customers or other banks' customers. They can put it into gold if they wanted to, or they could invest it in the stock market. Now, what happens with these banks that fail is that they'll often buy things like, it could be mortgages or it could be like houses. Now, think of trying to sell a house. It's a really long and complicated process. Now, let's say X bank bought a bunch of houses. They didn't buy any of this stuff right here. Houses are extremely hard to sell. And what if depositors like you want to withdraw their money? Now, the bank only has 10% on hand, and 90% of your money is locked in houses that are very hard to sell. Now, what happens here is you withdraw your money, and let's say your friend wants to withdraw their money, all of the money. The bank doesn't have enough money to give you because it's locked in houses. Now, out of all these investments here, the bank will, of course, let's say they made a profit on their investments. Let's say they invested in Apple. They put $1,000 in Apple and they made $500 profit. So a 50% gain. They put it into operational costs and they serve you those minuscule interest rates. No matter what they got 50% returns. You're getting 0.01%. in your savings account. And that just goes up the chain back into their investments. So if too many people withdraw from this reserve too quickly, that's how a bank run fails, because they only have 10% on hand. So that leads us into the banking pyramid scheme. I want to show you this in an illustration, but now that you know banks lend out a portion of your money, let me introduce you to the banking pyramid scheme. Now, this may look complicated too, but let me break it down for you. So, as I said, banks lend out on average a 90% of your money. So what will happen is, say this is the first bank, they lend out 90% of your money. Let's say they lend it out to another bank. This bank lends out 90% of your money to another bank, and it just keeps going down the chain and down the chain. Now what can happen here is, say that one of these banks failed. What happens? The FDIC has to come and ensure to make sure that, say this bank failed, it has to make sure this bank is whole, and then this bank up here, and then this bank. So it just keeps going up the chain. If one of these fail, a lot of these banks over here will have problems. Now, as you can see, the system isn't really feasible nor stable to the bank, and neither to its customers. It relies heavily on the trust-based model, and as banks' customers like you and me don't know how the bank is doing financially, nor do we know if the bank is about to fail. We'll only know when it's too late, when the bank run already happened, like in March 2023 when Silicon Valley Bank failed, Signature, and Silvergate. Those people were just stuck staring at their phone screens, looking at imaginary dollars in their bank account that they can't withdraw. Satoshi, the creator of Bitcoin, warned us about this in his white paper. As we can see here, I don't know what happened to the highlighting, but as you can see here, commerce on the internet has come to rely almost exclusively on financial institutions. So think Visa, your bank, maybe Chase, Bank of America, whatever you use. So the internet has come to rely almost exclusively on those institutions as trusted third parties to process electronic payments. While the system works well enough for most transactions, it suffers the inherent weakness of the trust-based model. So what that means is you basically have to trust your bank. You have to trust Visa to act ethically, to not botch anything or have some type of system glitch that may negatively affect you. What is needed is an electronic payment system based on cryptography, like Bitcoin, that can't be controlled or altered by anyone, and you don't have to trust a third party, as he mentioned, or as they mentioned in that first paragraph. Now this leads us to the solution. If the solution wasn't evident enough, the answer is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a form of money that's better than the rest, offering transparency in a cryptographic, digital, global, non-controlled, censorship-resistant manner. Bitcoins can be sent from a single guy on a remote island's computer using a Starlink connection, which is like, if you don't know what that is, it's like Elon Musk's satellite. It connects to satellites in space to connect you to the internet. You can set it up anywhere as long as you have power. So they can send, this guy on a remote island can use Starlink to send Bitcoin to an astronaut on the moon, to a user in China behind the quote-unquote Great Chinese Firewall. It's that flexible. Now, most recently, the EU has announced a plan to use the European Commission, which is the executive arm, the top arm of the European government, to collect quote-unquote unused savings in private individuals' accounts to fund European militarization. So what that means, if you're a European citizen and you have money in a savings account, they want to take it so they can militarize their union. So they're taking money out of your savings account without your permission. As we can see here, this is from Belarus Today, sb.by. It's a Belarus website. As we can see here, in the summary, I'm guessing that's what this is. The European Commission estimates a total level of unused savings of EU citizens at 10 trillion euros, and it tends to find ways to mobilize this money to finance its plans to militarize Europe and support the European military-industrial complex. Now, if you don't know what Belarus today is, which you probably don't, it's a state-run media enterprise. So the Belarus government runs the website, and they're putting out stuff like this. Now, as we can see on an X post right here, this is Ursula. It's a German politician. She runs the whole European Commission. Now, this one reads, Europe has all it needs to take the lead in its competitive race, which it really does, but they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot with all this regulation. As we can see here, this is a great demonstration of what Europe is doing. All these, America, Russia, China, India, they're all going in the same direction, but Europe is, for some reason, just, they're shooting themselves in the foot. But as it further reads, this month the EU Commission, so the top arm of the EU, will unveil European Savings and Investments Union. We will turn private savings, so yours and my savings, into much needed investment. So they want to take your money out of your savings account to militarize Europe. Now, not only is this unethical to European citizens, it's just straight up theft. Your savings, which is your stored time and energy, shouldn't be able to be taken away by any government authority, whether it be inflation or European theft, as what this is. If you're in the EU, I think now is a great time for you to learn how to use Bitcoin and Tor, as those two technologies can work wonders in a time where your government really wants to clinch down and strip you of every piece of private property you have and force CBDCs down your throat. Now, don't be like those truckers in Canada who got their bank accounts frozen and seized simply because they decided to form a nonviolent protest. Don't be a pawn in this game. Study Bitcoin. I have plenty more free content on this channel that explains the benefits of adopting a Bitcoin strategy for yourself, with more to come. Now, in short, banks and governments globally are here for your head at this time. They want full control. They want to turn you into a consumerist, hedonistic being that'll turn a blind eye to government monetary, which is money, control, and government surveillance. By adopting a Bitcoin strategy, you're fighting the ones who choose to make you a puppet in their little game and screw you in every way possible. Now, just before I end it off, a quick clip from the World Economic Forum. This is from around 2016. They uploaded a video to YouTube, and as we can see here, get into the first few seconds of it. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. I think that's their vision. They want to the EU wants to take away your private savings, so you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Your money won't be yours. Your house won't be yours. As we can see further in this video, let me just play it a couple more seconds. Whatever you want, you'll rent, and it'll be delivered by drone. That's what they want. And they also want you to eat bugs and plants too instead of meat. But anyways, if you enjoyed this content, feel free to like, comment, or even subscribe. It's very much appreciated. And as always, stay orange pilling, stack sats, and have a great rest of your day. Buy Bitcoin.